welcome to this video. So in the previous video, we actually took care of the error handling logic for our application, and we created this app error function and also this error handler. So in this video, we're going to actually implement the business logic into our controllers. But before we do that, one thing that I forgot to do was when we were developing these routers, I forgot to actually give them the corresponding HTTP methods. So let's just do that. This one should be a post request, and this one should be put, and also this one should be delete. So with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and get started with creating these controllers. So I'm just gonna close this one, and all right, so first one is get all. So, and before we do that, we're going to need to require the Prisma client. So I'm gonna say const, and I'm gonna destruct it. So let's say require and Prisma client. So I'm gonna get the Prisma client, and I'm gonna initiate a new variable called Prisma and set equal to an instance of this Prisma client. So alright, so let's just go ahead and write the logic for this one. I'm just gonna initiate a try catch block, and first thing I'm gonna do is pass the error to the next function. So our error handler handles this error, and the only thing that we're going to do here is to just get a list of users, or basically all of the users from a database. So I'm gonna say const users equal to awaited value of prisma.user.find many. So we're basically getting everything inside our database, and let's just return a response. So I'm gonna say return res.status. It's going to be a 200, which is okay, and I'm gonna return this as JSON. So list of users is going to be returned as JSON. Alright, so let's just go ahead and test this. I'm gonna go to Thunder client and create a new request, and let's say HTTP. This is our URL, and make sure our app is running. It's not, so let's just start the server. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and send the request. As you can see, we got an status 200, okay, and we have an empty array. That's because we haven't actually added any users into our database. So let's go ahead and create the next controller, and that's getting one user from the database. So what I'm gonna do again is I'm gonna start with a try catch block, and firstly I'm just gonna check if the target user actually exists in the database. So I'm gonna say const requested user ID is equal to request params.id, and after that we're going to look for that. So let's say const user to be found, and I'm gonna await this. So let's say prisma.user and find unique. We could use find first too, but I'm gonna find unique. And the thing about find unique is that we can pass in a unique value into this method. So for example, when we were developing our schema inside this model, we can either pass in the primary key of our table or something that has unique in front of it like that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and use the user ID. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to say find unique where user let's just open this. All right, so user ID is equal to requested user ID, but we want to just parse it into an integer. So parse int is equal to you requested user ID. Alright, so that's taken care of, and after that what you want to do is say, so if there is no user to be found, we want to throw a new error. So throw new app error, and it's going to be a not found, and status code is going to be 404. Description is going to be user not found. Actually, let me just do this in lowercase, user not found, and it's operational. So, and if we get past this line, this means that we actually have a user. So let's just return it as JSON. So I'm going to say return res.status is equal to 200. That's a successful request, and we're gonna JSON this user to be found. All right, and I'm gonna just pass the error to the next function. All right, everything seems to be working, so let's just go ahead and test this new controller. I'm gonna create a new request. So let's say http, and let's just get user1, and we already know that it doesn't exist, but it's gonna throw a 404 error. So let's just go ahead and see. And as you can see, everything is working fine. It's throwing this error because we actually do not have any users with this ID inside our database. So the next one is creating a user. So this is going to be a post request. So before we actually do that, I'm gonna use a library called Joy, and that's going to help us validate our JSON schemas, and it's a really cool library, and this is the official website for the Joy, and this is the npm page, and as you can see, there's a lot of weekly downloads, so it's a really cool package. I'm gonna go ahead and install it. So inside a new terminal, I'm gonna say npm I joy. Now this is how it's spelled, so let's just wait until this one installs, and alright, it's here. So let's just go ahead and so since we're using an MVC architecture, I'm gonna create a new folder called model, and I'm gonna create a file inside it called user schema.js, and inside this user schema, I'm just going to require Joy, and so now I'm just gonna create our schema. So let's say const user schema is equal to joy.object. It's going to be an object, and inside this object we're gonna list our properties. So there's gonna be user ID, and it's going to be a joy dot it's going to be a number, so it's going to be a number, and it's required. So let's say required, and I'm gonna duplicate this line 3 times so we don't have to write them manually. This one is let me just change this username, and it's a string, and after that this one should be a password, and password is also a string, and user ID, the last user ID should be the age, and age is a number and is required. So everything seems to be working. Let's just go ahead and export this schema. So I'm going to say module.exports user schema. Alright, so inside our users controllers, what I'm gonna do is to require this schema. So const user schema is equal to require, and we're going to have to go 2 steps behind and inside the model folder and user schema. So here let's just first check if the user has actually sent a valid body and a valid JSON object. So we're going to check if all of the needed properties are actually available. So let's use a try catch block, and I'm gonna just pass the error to the next function, and inside here I'm gonna say const and we're gonna open these curly braces and say user schema dot validate, and what we're going to validate is request dot body, and this is going to return us an error object if any error is thrown, and also a values, but we're not going to use this value. So what I'm going to say is if there is any error, so if error, we're gonna throw new error. So if any error is thrown and this object has actually a value that is not nullish or undefined, so that means we have an validation error, so we're gonna throw it. So throw new app error, and the name is going to be bad request. Status code is 400, and I'm just gonna pass in the error dot message from here for the description, and it's an operational error. So after that, if we get past this line, this means that we do not have any errors and user has actually sent us a valid JSON body. So let's just go ahead and check if there's already a user with these credentials inside our database. So I'm basically checking for a duplicate user. So let's say const is duplicate is equal to awaiting. I'm gonna say prisma.user.find, let's say find unique, and I'm gonna say var user ID. So let's should be opened. All right, so let me just get this out of the way. Where user ID is equal to parse int, and we're going to pass request dot body dot user ID. So we're checking if there's already a user inside our database with this user ID. All right, and after that, if there is a duplicate, so if it is duplicated, so let's just throw a new error, throw a new app error, and this is going to be conflict. So I'm going to say conflict, and the status code is 409, and the description is going to be let's just say credentials already taken, and it's an operational error. So alright, so if we get past this line, we're finally okay, and we can we can actually create the user inside our database. So let's say await prisma.user.create, and I'm gonna just pass in the data. So data is going to be request dot body. All right, and after that, we're just going to return the response. So let's say res dot status, it's going to be 201, which means created, and we're going to JSON the request body which they sent us. So all right, so everything seems to be working. I don't think we have any errors, so let's just go ahead and test it out. So I'm gonna create a new request, and this is going to be a post request, and alright, so we're gonna only accept application JSON. Inside the body, I'm gonna say user ID is equal to 1, and username is equal to James, and password is going to be just some gibberish, and after that we have the age, which should be, let's say, 23. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and send this request. Our server is not up, so let's just say npm start. Actually, we have the server working on this terminal, so let's just go ahead and do it. All right, so we have the user created, and if I go here and get all of the users, you can see that's the user that we just created. And for the sake of just showing you that everything works, I'm just going to let's just say we don't pass the username. All right, and let's just change this to user ID 2. All right, so if I send this request as post, you can see bad request, username is required. So let's just say we actually provide the username, but there is this this is a duplicate request. So conflict, credentials already taken, so everything seems to be working fine. So let's just go ahead and create our next controller. So in this controller we're actually going to update a user. So in order to do that, we're going to again need the user ID from the parameters. So I'm gonna say try catch inside this try catch, and I'm gonna just pass the error to the next function. All right, so here I'm gonna say const requested user ID is equal to request params.id, and after that we want to say that if this user actually exists. So let's just check if this user exists. So const user to be updated is going to be it's going to be wait prisma user dot find. I'm going to use find first, and this time, no, actually let's just use find unique again. So I'm gonna find unique, and I'm gonna say ver, we're gonna say ver user ID is equal to what we have. So this should be parse int requested user ID. All right, so we want to update this particular user, and before we actually check to see if the user is present inside our database, let's just check if the JSON body is actually valid. So let's just say I'm gonna say const, it's going to be user schema that validate request dot body, and gonna get the error from here. So if there is any error, we're gonna throw new app error, and so this is going to be a bad request. So it's going to be bad request, and it's going to be 404. Description is going to be error dot message, and after that this is an operational error. So all right, and after that, if we get past this line, it means that we have an invalid JSON body, and we're going to check for the user to see if this user actually exists. So right after here, so I'm gonna say if there is no user to be updated, I'm gonna throw a new error, throw new app error, and it's going to be 404. So let's say not found user does not exist, and this is an operational error. So after that, so if we get past this line, that means that the user actually exists. So we're just going to update it. So wait prisma dot user dot update. What we're going to update is going to be, so this is how it works. First we're going to find the user and then give the data to be updated. So let's just say this is where, and where the user ID is equal to requested user ID. Alright, and we also let's wrap this inside the parse in. So alright, and after that the data is going to be the request.body. So request.body, and so everything seems to be working. And after all of these lines, if everything is successful and we have no errors, we're just going to return a response saying res.status. This is also going to be 201, and just going to JSON request.body. Alright, I think this is going to be fine. So let's just format this real quick, and I'm gonna go to they're actually inside the Thunder client. So let's this is a put request, and what we're going to put and update is going to be user1. So let's just actually get the user1. If I get all of the users, you can see we only have one user, and that's James. So let's go ahead and update James. So header is going to be application JSON. Inside the body, I'm just going to copy this. Alright, so I have to write it again, and after that, alright, so we're going to change this to user ID 2, and I'm gonna call him, I don't know, something like Mike. The password should be the same, and he's 33 years old. So let's just go ahead and send this, and it's created and we get the data that we sent. So let's just go ahead and get this newly created user. So if I get user 2, you can see it's Mike, and everything is working fine. So let's just go ahead and alright, so the last one is to the delete method, and we're going to delete a user from database. And this is really just there's not a lot of code we have to write in this controller. So I'm just gonna say try catch, and inside this again I'm just gonna call this next function and pass in the error object. And we're just going to firstly see if this user that was meant to be deleted actually exists, and then if that's the case and user actually exists, we're going to do delete it. So let's say const requested user ID, it's going to be rec params.id, and we're going to check for that. So let's say const user to be deleted. Alright, so we're gonna await prisma.user.delete, and we're going to delete where user ID is equal to this integer, which is requested user ID. So what we're basically doing is telling Prisma to find us this user with this particular user ID, and if that's the case and that user exists after this line. So let's say first we're going to check if this user doesn't exist. So I'm going to say if there is no user to be deleted, then we're going to throw an error. And this is going to be a bad request, so I'm going to say bad. No, actually this is going to be I'm sorry, this is going to be an 404 error. So not found 404, and I'm gonna say user does not exist. and this is an operational error. After that, if you get past this line, that means that the user actually exists, and we're just going to delete it. So let's say await prisma.user.delete, and user ID is equal to horse int, and I'm gonna give it requested user ID, which is the ID that we get from the parameters. And after that is, if everything is actually successful and we delete this user, I'm gonna return res.status, and we're going to use 204, which means no content. And yeah, that's it. And I have to change it to send status. All right, so everything seems to be fine. I'm just going to format this using prettier and create a new request. This one is going to be delete, and after that, let's just say, all right, this is our URL, and going to only accept application JSON. And so the only user that we actually have inside our database is let's get all of the users so you can see, is this mic user. So I'm just going to delete it. So delete mic, and we have actually an error. So let's just go ahead and see what's going on. We probably have an error inside this controller. So there's an unexpected token or something. I'm just gonna restart the server. Let's just go ahead, restart it, and send this request again. So we're going to delete this user. Something went wrong. Prisma client known request error. So let's just see what's going on. All right, so oh, I'm really sorry. We actually we're going to deleting this user, so this should be find. So we actually have to find it first, then delete it. And all right, so that's my fault. So let's just go ahead and see the current state of our database. I'm gonna get all of the so the last operation actually deleted the user. That's my fault, but we're going to create a new user and delete it again. So I'm gonna, all right, so I've created this James user. So if we get all of the users, get this one, so we can see that we have James, and now we can actually remove it. So let's remove James, and 204 no content. And if I go ahead and get this user, so let's just get all of the users inside our database, and this should just return us an empty array. All right, this is not returning us an empty array. I don't know what seems to be the problem. All right, so the little bit of delay, we have the response, and it's 200 okay, and that's an empty array. So everything is working perfectly fine. And all right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm just gonna wrap things up right here, and we have created all of our controllers, and they're working perfectly fine. So I'll see you in the next video.